Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Produce Buzzers podcast. We are so happy you have joined us today, and I think you will be too after the show is over, because you will learn a lot about fresh fruits and vegetables, how to select and store them, how to prepare and cook them, and surprising facts about their history and origin. We hope it inspires you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, not only for your health, but also for your delight and pleasure as you explore their amazing world of taste and delicious flavors. Eating more of them will transform your life in so many positive ways. So settle back, relax, and get ready for another delicious adventure with the Produce Buzzers. Greetings, Produce Buzzers podcast fans, and welcome to another delicious episode of the Produce Buzzers podcast. We're so happy you joined us today, and I'm sure you will be too. We've got a very exciting guest, interesting guest for the program today. I'm Edwin Stepp, your host and executive editor of Produce Buzz. I'm joined once again by Teresa Nolan, the president and founder of Produce Buzz, along with Rick Stepp and Cynthia Benedetto, both contributing editors to Produce Buzz. Well, Produce Buzzers podcast fans, we have another fascinating guest on the podcast today, one who imports some delicious and unique fruits and veggies from Italy to the United States. And he's going to tell us all about some of those today. So stick around to learn about them. You will be delighted you did. Our guest today is an Italian man who has been in the produce business his entire life. He is Italian, but he was born and raised in Switzerland, correct? Am I correct about that? Yeah.
That's correct. Yes, Swiss Italian, from the Italian part of Switzerland.
Right. Yeah, many of our listeners may think of Switzerland as primarily German in its ethnic makeup, and I think it is. About 60% of the people speak German, from what I've read. Or maybe French, because Geneva is a French-speaking city, and I think it's about 20% who speak French. But I read that about 10% of Swiss people identify ethnically as Italian, and I guess that's mostly to the southern regions up along the borders of Italy, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So our guest is one of those Italians from Switzerland, and he grew up right across the border from Italy and northwest of Milano. Our guest today is Celso Paganini, the president and owner of Porto Pavino, which owns the Bella Vita foods brand of fresh produce. The company imports fresh produce, mainly kiwi fruit, grapes, chestnuts, specialty vegetables, oranges, lemons, and specialty citrus, and garlic. But they also import some balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and even canned tomatoes from Italy. As I said, Celso grew up just across the Italian border northwest of Milano. His family has been in the produce business for centuries and have been exporting fresh produce from Italy to Europe and other places for over a century. His father had apple and pear orchards in northern Italy, and as a small boy, Celso used to accompany him to work in them and to get their fruit to the big produce markets in Milano. And as he likes to say, as a young man, he learned the produce business from the bottom up, loading the fruit on and off the trucks by hand. After his father's death in 1981, Celso became co-owner of the family business, which by that time was one of the largest importers and distributors of fresh fruits and veggies in the European market. But Celso was not content to just know the basics of the produce industry. He was eager to understand all aspects of business management. So he obtained the equivalent of a master's degree in business from the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland. And later, after immigrating to the US, he received an MBA from Columbia University. He made the move to the US in 2000, settling in Harrison, New York, with his wife and 3 children. The business continued to grow and expand with its emphasis on the highest quality fruits and vegetables in a market which was increasingly becoming more health conscious. As word spread about the Mediterranean diet for its remarkable health benefits, Bella Vita Foods was uniquely positioned to capitalize on this positive health trend. And don't we love that name, Bella Vita? Even if you don't speak Italian, I'm sure you know the English translation of this. Beautiful life. And we know that eating fresh fruits and vegetables is essential to living the beautiful life. And Italians especially understand this. So Celso, welcome to the show today. And thank you for joining us.
I'm going to leave now because Colombia, Switzerland, probably I'm guessing 4 different languages. I'm a little
Oh, you feel a little
intimidated.
Don't be. I'm a simple produce guy. So I
This
grew up
is
with fresh produce. I went to the terminal market at 1 o'clock in Zurich in the morning, and in Milan at 5 o'clock in the morning. I went to the terminal market every morning, and I started with quality control. So I started the receiving and checking frise and salads from southern Italy, and tomatoes and rotten peppers sometimes in the morning at 5 o'clock until about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but you're talking to somebody who went to Hunts Point at 0300. So,
yeah,
you know,
I go to Hunts Point as well. Quite often, every 2-3 weeks, I'm down in Hunts Point. I go in the evening now. Now I'll go either in the evening at 9, 10 o'clock after it opens, or I go in the morning at 5, 6 o'clock. So I get out before the traffic hits because just to get out of the city in time before it takes hours to get out.
Yeah. Well, now you've met Cynthia, Celso. She's brings a lot of life to the conversation, and
yeah.
you'll have a lot of experiences to share as well. I was telling Celso about us growing up in a family produce business, and Cynthia spent a lot of time on a Hunts Point market, and she worked there you do work for 2 or 3 different people, or was it just one?
No, I just hung out with 2 or 3 different companies. No, I work for A&J Produce.
Oh, A&J Produce, the Tramutola family.
Yes,
They're my
Thomas.
TV customer. Yeah, they're good. They're good people.
Oh my gosh, such good people.
Yes.
And Thomas is just a spark plug.
Yes, yeah. Good, very good people.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your earlier days in the growing up in the produce business, since we all grew up in the produce business. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that and your experiences.
So growing up in the produce business, it's family business usually, right?
Right.
It's terminal markets, it's orchards, it's fresh produce, really understanding it from young, right? When you really grow up. And I had the big opportunity at that point in time when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. We didn't have only apples and pears in the orchards. My father tried out apricots, tried out plums, tried out several products that didn't work out so well. So I see as well what happens when you get rain with apricots, right? They all open all up, and the whole thing goes to the industry. And if you don't have the industry behind, you lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So these are all valuable lessons that I don't have to learn today again, that I learned already in my young age. But I think that's the beast. That's the nature of being in the produce business. You can't learn that business in 1 year. Right. You need at the least 5 years to get an idea. You need to see the seasonality of one product. You need to see it at least 5 times, right? To see a rainy year develops like this. Sunny year, dry year develops differently. If you get in northern Italy, you get snow, probably the cauliflower get very expensive, and the production close to northern Italy goes down. So it's kind of one of those items that demand goes up when it gets cold, and production goes down and demand goes up when it gets cold, right?
Right. Yeah.
Those are the really difficult items where the weather affects demand and supply in different ways.
Yeah, and the produce industry is unique in that way. It's one of the few products that oftentimes the lower the quality of it, the higher the price can be. And when
that's so true.
Yeah,
so true.
Whatever they can throw in the box.
Yeah. When you have perfect product, everybody has it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the prices go down and down.
And when you are the last standing guy with product, and there is nothing else around, even the product is maybe not picture perfect, but it sells very well at a good price.
Right, exactly.
That's true.
So so pears apples. Your father experimented with some other tree fruits. It's mostly, it sounds like. But what about vegetables? Did you do vegetables as well, or?
Oh, vegetables, we were engaged in several projects in southern Italy and northern Italy where we really bought land by ourselves. For instance, cauliflowers, we are involved in a project in Senigallia. That's on the east coast of Italy, on the Adriatic coast.
Mhm.
That's the closest you can grow cauliflowers during the winter season. But so we usually contracted from, we had about 1,000 growers in Italy. My old company, Celso Paganini, we had about 1,000 growers from the southern tip in Sicily until the Alps.
Wow.
So throughout the whole country, we had everywhere growers for different products. And that's where when I started here in the United States, I started sourcing from the best guys, from the number ones. And then I went to the number two and the number three.
Speaking of high quality, Bella Vita focuses on the highest quality to bring to the United States, and a focus on the Italian products that are superior. Tell us about Italy in general and why it is such a great place for fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, it's all about the climate. And Italy, if you look at the topography of Italy, from northern to south, there is a chain. That's a spine of Italy, I call it. There is a chain called the Apennines, right?
Right.
And if you look around the world, the countries that are strong with fresh produce, they have a very long coastline and mountains behind it. Chile, New Zealand, California, Italy, the southern part of Spain, Algeria with the mountains, 2,500 meters. So that's about 8,000 feet mountains south of the Mediterranean, 20 miles south of the Mediterranean.
Right.
Those, or Turkey as well, has pretty mountainous terrain north of the Mediterranean. Those are countries that are naturally predisposed to grow fresh produce. Why? Because fresh produce needs air, needs a breeze. We call it the Mediterranean breeze in the Mediterranean, but I'm sure in California, the places where produce grow well, there is this breeze as well. In New Zealand, in Chile as well. What does this air? This air takes the humidity out of where you grow apples or where you grow fresh produce in general, and circulates the air. So it's a healthier environment to grow fresh produce, and it changes the temperatures from day and night, because during the day, if the sea is still cold, the mountains and the land heats up faster because it absorbs more energy. So the air flows from the sea to the mountains. And in the night, vice versa, the mountains cool down, but the water keeps the temperature, so the air flows back.
Oh,
so that's called the thermal, in Italian, escursione termica. I don't know exactly how to translate this in English. The thermal excursion or whatever, the difference between day and night.
Right.
The temperature difference between day and night, it's key for the color of fresh produce. It's key, for instance, for the sweet red onion of Tropea we saw up in Boston. It's key for so many fresh produce that the temperature range between day and night is probably the most important thing, in addition to the breeze that keeps the air and not as humid and takes the humidity air from the humid air out of places that are keen to stay humid if there is no breeze.
Wow, that's a great geography lesson and agricultural lesson all tied together. You know, I knew those places.
I'm not good for lessons.
Well, I knew that geography was very similar, like California and Chile especially. But to have that put in the context of these other places too that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that with us. So you mentioned these onions. Now, Teresa and I were very privileged to meet Celso at a produce conference, the New England Produce Council's Expo show last month. And he had with him some beautiful onions. And we're only audio here, Celso, so we can't show our audience those beautiful onions, but they are red onions.
Your favorite.
Oh, yes.
I have them in the garage. I can get a braid if you want.
Okay. Well, the problem is we're only audio on this podcast. But
Okay.
I did take pictures with you and those, so I'll put them up on our website for our listeners to see them. But the braids are beautiful. Tell us about these red onions. They're red onions, but they're sweet red onions. So
Yeah,
tell us about
They're
them.
sweet. Yes. That's probably the sweetest, one of the sweetest onions in the world. We tested them at Vidalia Labs, and they have high bricks, 9%, 9 degree bricks actually.
And what do
they have-
yellow onions? What do like utility onions
Well,
have?
you mentioned Vidalia onions. I want to make sure our listeners, we've talked about them on the podcast, but the Vidalia onions are from Vidalia, Georgia. They're considered one of the sweetest onions. And
Yes.
you were comparing your red onions with them. Is that correct? Did I understand?
No,
that?
I didn't really compare. We
Oh,
used
okay.
their laboratories
Oh,
to
okay.
analyze them here in the United States.
All right. Excellent.
We find out and their parameters to measure sweetness and to measure the pyruvic acid.
So the
Pyruvic
bricks
acid is
level.
what the bricks is the sweetness, and
Right.
the pyruvic acid is what makes you cry. And they have a
Okay.
so-called factor called the lacrimatory factor. The factor that what the onions make you do the lacrima. Lacrima means cry, right? And a lacrimatory factor is very, very good with the sweet onion of Tropea. We call them actually, it's not just a marketing slogan, but it's kind of the truth because I cut them myself. It's the onion that doesn't make you cry.
All right.
It's an onion that doesn't make you cry when you cut it.
Yeah.
I ate it. I had some beautiful ravioli filled with artichokes and spinach, and I put. My wife sliced these onions on top of the ravioli, and really, when you eat them, you don't feel the when you eat an onion. Usually, your mouth for a certain point in time, you feel it in your mouth, right? Maybe
Right.
even through the night, right? No, here I felt nothing.
Yeah.
I felt nothing. They are just very sweet and very good.
So
Sorry?
I think we need samples to just make sure that we understand the words that you're saying. So
She wants
if your wife could make us some ravioli and then we can add the onion to it.
No, the raviolis were from Rana. You can buy them at Costco, but they're good. Rana does pretty good pasta. The fresh pasta from Rana is pretty good.
Yeah.
And we take those because to make them home, you need bigger families, right? You need 10 kids, so you can run a batch that makes sense, right? And we don't have that.
But wait, so when you said the braid of onions, now are they braided? Is this the way they're grown? Well, they're not grown that way, but how does that happen?
It's a huge tradition. It's a huge tradition in southern Italy, in this area, to braid the onions. It went lost a little bit with the time, but there are still a couple of companies, and our shipper braids them. Let me explain you what it's really. In the 60s and 70s, Italy was exporting full vessels of these sweet red onions. And then they started planting in California. They were red as well, but they were not as sweet, but they took over the market. So from Italy now, we bring it in kind of as a specialty, but we really believe in the value of the quality and the quality of the product. And we believe as well, having the braids, the only braids that can be imported in garlic and onions can be imported from Italy, because 1960 or 1970, they were able to through USDA, to get a special paragraph or piece of law in the Federal Register that allows the braids from Italy. You cannot import braided garlic or braided onion from any other parts in the world, but from Italy, because the Italians in the 60s and 70s made it to law.
But they are braided after they're harvested?
Correct. They have a crew there that braids them, because you need as well the stem to become a little bit more floppy, right? Or else you cannot braid it. So they cure them, they braid them, and then they keep on curing them. So and we finally find a grower, packer, that can cure them really well. So in the past, we brought them in June. Now we brought them in the end of August, and we want to carry it even till the middle of October, end of October to test them, because in the future we want to expand the season from the middle of June until the end of October.
Fantastic.
Well,
Our listeners, I encourage you to Google this and take a picture of them. They're absolutely beautiful. Not only are they delicious onions, which Celso gave me some to bring home, and I've been eating them. Still have a few left, but these braids are absolutely beautiful.
You mentioned nothing of this.
What?
You
we haven't
mentioned
talked
nothing.
much. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture later.
He shared
Anyway.
them with me.
Well, yeah, how
No,
nice.
and when
But
you
you know,
try
did
them-
you bake him cookies for Christmas? I don't think so.
Nope.
Cynthia's mad at me, Celso, for not sharing these onions with her. But anyway, but there's such a beautiful.
I need her address. We'll send her samples to Florida.
Okay.
Thank you. But let me say that when I buy sweet onions, and I store them properly, I find that they don't have a long shelf life. Does the braid make a difference? Because you said
it's not
they're
the braid.
cured.
We sell them. We sell them loose as well, not only braided, obviously. You know, loose with a PLU that never sticks to the outside of the onion because they peel off all the time. But that's the nature of the business, right? But that's not the braid that makes them whole. It's the curing. Once they pick them, they must cure them properly, and then as well, what is a big factor as well, how you keep it at your home. The braids are perfect to hang it in the kitchen somewhere, right?
Right.
And so they stay ventilated. Airflow is very important, and relative humidity is very important as well for the onions.
The ones you gave me, Celso, still good. I still have 2 or 3 left on that braid, and they're still good. So they've kept well. But man, not only hanging them up to keep them ventilated, but they are beautiful. They start to become a decoration in your kitchen.
They're kind of a propeller, right? The shape is different than the other onions. They are more long. They're very close to a how you call a shallot.
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 That's
very... French. Sorry, shallot. Shallot.
Right.
Yes, sorry.
Well, all the chefs will say shallot.
Yeah, shallot, because that's French. In Italian, you say scaglione.
Scaglione. And on Hunts Point, they go shallot. No, they go a shallot. A shallot.
So scaglione is spelled like scallion, then, right?
Scallion, yes.
With an E on the end. Scaglione.
Yes. Scaglione. No, it's SCAGLIONE. Is GL in Italian.
Yeah.
I know the bad words.
Which ones?
Okay. This is a family show.
Exactly. You know.
That's true.
So you know Italy. You know Italian culture.
Well, American Italian culture, which is kind of fugazi.
They adapted, the poor immigrants between the world wars, or before World War I, or after World War II, they had a hard time adapting when they came to the United States. So what happened? They were bringing maybe some spaghetti in their suitcase when they were immigrants, right? But they didn't find the olive oil. They didn't have the spaghetti. They didn't find ingredients. So the whole industry developed around it, right? And you see that some of the guys that were in certain kind of businesses, they develop legitimate business, right? And they do a lot of they import the ingredients that the Italian community wanted. Actually, there is about, I don't have the exact numbers, but there are about 20 million Italians, first, second, and third generation in the United States, and about 8 million Italians with passports still in the United States. Italian passports in the United States.
And so many of those immigrants came here and they went west. And, California agriculture is the backbone of it, was Italian immigrants developing and bringing the things from Italy. Well, let's talk about another product which you bring in, chestnuts.
Yes.
And this is, I think, one of your most popular products. I think, at least it's one of the unique products you bring in.
Sing it for us, Rick.
What is he?
Chestnuts roasting.
roasting.
Yeah, come on.
Chestnuts.
You don't have the
roasting,
voice.
roasting.
I don't have the voice.
Very good. Well,
There's a chestnut conference going on in Asheville this weekend. Did you see that, Edwin?
No.
Yeah.
Asheville's the city that I live close to here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh, I
It's
didn't know.
beautiful. There is a chestnuts renaissance here in the United States.
I was learning a little bit about that. Tell us about that. There, maybe a lot of our listeners don't know what happened to American chestnuts here.
Yeah.
And then,
It's a very sad story. So it came from China again, like other sad stories in the 2020. But here what happened. In 1904, scientists in the Botanical Garden of the Bronx here in New York, Bronx, where the terminal market is as well,
oh, right.
but it didn't affect the terminal market. It affected just 3.5 billion chestnut trees throughout the United States. Those chestnut trees that the scientists brought in from China, they had a disease, the chestnut blight. And that chestnut blight by World War II killed about 3.5 billion chestnut trees over the Appalachian from Maine down to Georgia. And it has been one of the biggest phytosanitary accidents that happened. Kind of pity because it's very hard to find one chestnut tree here in the United States. My neighbor here in Newburgh, now I live in Newburgh, has a chestnut tree, but it needs to be treated every year.
Oh.
And I wanted actually to buy that house, but not for the house, for the chestnut tree, because I love them so much.
Right.
So United States have a very good climate, particularly Appalachian, have a very good climate for chestnuts. And I'm trying as well to reintroduce them to the United States. And there are people working on it as well, not only me, because I think chestnuts from a nutritional standpoint is the best of all nuts. They have all the nutrients that the other chestnuts have, right? The minerals and all kind of stuff you need, phosphorus and all the elements you need, right? From the nuts, the reason why you eat nuts, right? But in addition to that, they have 1/3 of the calories of any other nut, 1/3 or less of the calories of any other nut. 100 grams of chestnuts have about 180 calories. 100 grams of peanuts, they have 600 calories. So it's a big difference. In addition to the chestnuts, all over the Appalachians, they played a very important economic role, not only because of the nut itself, but for all the byproducts. Chestnuts flour, today used for gluten-free pasta in Italy, or the chestnuts wood, furniture, etc.
Right.
You know, there were towns, little villages in the Appalachians that were called chestnuts economies because they lived from chestnuts.
Interesting.
That's gone, right? And also the generation that was eating a lot of chestnuts is gone, because today the per capita consumption is maybe 0.1 pounds, 0.1 pounds per capita. Yeah. In 1930, Italy exported 35,000 tons of chestnuts to the United States. Today, maybe 1,500 tons.
Wow. So people are just not eating them anymore because they couldn't get them for so many years.
That's exactly it. And the culture went lost a little bit,
right,
as well.
Yeah.
You know,
but I don't know how to introduce them into my menus. My father-in-law used to always, I would pick some up for him, but, and I can't remember what he used to make with it, but it was good, but it's not something I'm that familiar with that I could, just throw some chestnuts in there.
Yeah, but that's exactly the point. To reintroduce them as the healthiest of all nuts, despite all the huge marketing arguments we have, it requires time and to change the habits of the consumer. It's very, very, very hard, right? And we are trying to get some promotional funding from the Italian government to promote it here. But the thing is, there are chestnuts coming from China as well, and they are not Castagna sativa, which is the main variety in Italy, but it's other other main variety like Castagna mollissima. They are not the same quality, and they sell at probably a fraction of the price that we sell the Italian ones, but they are on the market as well.
So the quality is very, very bad compared to the Italian chestnuts.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the Italian chestnuts so much. We talked about
The Castagna, the European chestnuts, or Castagna sativa. That's the variety, the name of the main variety.
Yeah.
It's just probably the tastiest of all nuts, of all chestnuts, and he has as well higher medicinal value than any other varieties of chestnuts. The one that was coming closer to the Castagna sativa was the Castagna dentata from the United States, but it didn't survive the blight. And that's kind of, because it was a good chestnut, smaller in size, but very, very tasty as well. Chestnuts, they have many health benefits. Besides the calories, they are very good against osteoporosis because they have a lot of calcium inside. But as well, they digest pretty well, create some gas, obviously, because they're nuts. But it's a kind of a very healthy product, and for athletes in particular, it contains carbohydrates as well.
Yeah, and tell us about the Bella Vita brand. Where can we find it? What kind of packaging does it come in?
The chestnuts, they will be at Whole Foods. They will be at other retailers like Shaw's and other retailers here in the East Coast.
Nationwide Whole Foods?
No, it's Northeast. Maybe we get the Midwest, but we would like to do nationwide because there are not many chestnuts in California unless they are Chinese. But Chinese right now, they are punished with 25% duties. So they cannot sell as cheap as they were used to. So they probably creates a little bit more opportunity to sell Italian chestnuts. We sold chestnuts as well to Mexico, Costco Mexico, and Costco Canada. Costco United States, we surrounded them, Mexico and Canada, but they still didn't give us any orders for chestnuts.
You need a 10-pound box or something for those guys, though, don't you?
No, not really. We had a very nice 4-pound bags. I think that's ideal, even 3 pounds. But the 4-pound bags would sell probably at $15 to $20, right? That would probably be the right price for the members, for the Costco members.
Right.
Do you sell a shelled roasted chestnut in a bag?
No, our shelled. Oh, again, shelled. No, they're not shelled. Shelled means peeled, right?
Right, peeled.
Yeah. No, we don't. There are these dye packs that are already peeled, and we started from Italy with very nice chestnuts, not like deer, not as small as deer poop, but very nice chestnuts, good size and good taste. But then China came in and destroyed the market.
Yes, I bought some of those at Costco last December. There were like 5 6-ounce bags or something in a box, and they were from China, and they were roasted and peeled, and they were okay, but I don't think I'd buy them again.
Yeah, but they were kind of in the dry product section, not fresh produce section.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's in China. They have several areas where they do a lot of chestnuts, and they have industries doing that, but they're not focused on quality. I saw some of those packs that the chestnuts, they were maybe B or C size, right? So it means 110, 120, or 150 pieces per kilo, which is very, very small chestnuts, 5 grams, 8 grams a piece. They're not candies, they're chestnuts, right? With that music you mentioned before, right? Chestnuts roasting on the open fire, blah, blah, They were roasting the chestnuts on the street in New York and Philadelphia during the World Wars, between the World Wars, before the World Wars, after the World Wars, until the 60s and 70s. And they don't do this anymore. And it's such a healthy product. And what's nicer for ladies, to go shopping on Fifth Avenue and buy the nicest clothes. And then it's so cold outside, and then you hear that music, and then you eat a warm roasted chestnut there, already half peeled, because you get the right chestnuts that peel them by themselves almost.
Well, the thing about this is we need to re-educate people on this chestnuts. And I brought up England because I've traveled there a lot, and I
Yeah.
know, I don't think I ever ate a chestnut as a kid. It wasn't until I went to England and saw them on the streets and tasted them. Went, wow, this is fantastic. And
It's a very good product and
And
healthy.
again, the texture for
Yes.
me is, I'm a texture person and I like the texture.
And if you go Austria, Italy, France, Switzerland, when it's cold, they roast the chestnuts. Even when I was skiing in Switzerland, there was a friend of mine, when you got down to the base, he was roasting chestnut there with 0 degrees Fahrenheit. He was roasting them, and people were happy. Before jumping into the car, they took the chestnuts, and they had the warm
oh, yeah,
chestnuts.
warms you right up.
So can
We
can
can-
you take these home in their, do you say it's a shell, or what do you say around a chestnut?
If you
Can you
take
take
them
them home?
home,
And roast them yourself?
yes, you can, but be careful. There is a couple of things that you don't need to forget. First, a little incision on the chestnut, because if you don't do the incision, when they get warm, the inside, the pulp, produces vapor, and then it blows up the peel, and then it explodes. It's
So
not
kind
a-
of like a baked potato, or you
yeah,
poke the holes
no,
in it.
but it's a little bit more dramatic. Not bad, but you don't want to put your face there in front of it when they explode. Right?
Ah.
But wait a minute,
Lord.
once it's, I walk away with the bag, they are fully
Roasted already.
roasted.
Yes.
What's the shelf life?
The shelf life roasted is pretty long, because but you want to eat them warm if you can, right? You can as well put them in the refrigerator at home, or just, I actually, here what I did when I was a kid. My father taught me how to roast the chestnuts, and I went picking the chestnuts in the silvies, or how you call it, silviculture. That's the culture that the chestnuts really in Italy, they don't do them in orchards. It's called silviculture because they grow wild, right?
Oh, okay.
What the people do that pick the chestnuts, they keep just the land clean underneath. So when they fall from the tree, they just scrub the burrs with, and then they pick the chestnuts. So I did that. I went to pick the chestnuts, brought them home. We cured them a little bit for 1 or 2 weeks, so they lose a little bit weight, but they get tastier because they get smaller. And then we did the little incisions so they don't explode. And then we roasted them on the open fire, like the song. and it's a beautiful product. We peeled them when they came in warm, and then we left them there for 2-3 days. They stay without any storage, anything. So you can keep them when they're roasted, probably 2-3 days. If you leave them somewhere on a little cup in the house, regular room temperature, they hold up very well.
Hmm. But they
So-
keep longer if they're in the refrigerator?
If you put them in the fridge?
Yeah, probably yes.
Ah, he
Longer,
didn't
but-
lie
but
and
the
look
problem
that
is-
face. Yeah.
The problem is the dehydration of the roasted chestnuts. When you keep them too long outside, they dehydrate, they get hard.
Oh.
They
Well,
get very
couldn't
hard.
could you marinate them in something after
You can
they're
do many
roasted?
things. There are thousands of recipes for chestnuts. You can stuff the turkey at Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. that would
You
be good.
can decorate the turkey. You can roast them. You can boil them in the water. That we call them farudi in our language, in our dialect. And then it's kind of it comes out kind of a pulp, kind of like a puree comes out from the chestnuts.
Hmm.
There are so many possible recipes. Chestnuts is an element for gluten-free pasta, right? They use chestnuts flour. But as well, when you decorate pies, etc., you can use chestnuts. How you call them? Like the cheese when they slice it very thin. The same
Oh.
way, and you can use chestnuts in so many ways. There are the
How
marron
long do
glacé.
How long do you roast them when you put them on the fire?
The roasting secret is not so complicated. The first thing you need to do when you roast them, very high flames, and you put them there for 2-3 minutes on high flames so it burns the skin. And then slow cooking for 15-20 minutes on the glue.
On the what?
Because on the
Grill,
how you
on
call
the
it?
grill. The grill?
No,
did you
not
say?
on the grill. On the red wood. How you call it?
Okay, yeah, coals. The coals.
On the coals, yes, on the coals practically, because so they cook the chestnut inside with not high temperature. The goal is to burn the skin outside so you can cook them better inside.
You
So
burn
the
the
first moment,
skin,
big flame, and then very low flame or coals.
but
you know.
before the big flame, you score them.
You do what?
Like an incision.
s-
The incision. Yeah, you do the
Mhm,
incision. Yes, correct.
Could you use a blowtorch to burn them first and then put them on barbecue
I
grill?
never tried that, but you can use sea salt on a pan fry, and then the pan you fill in with 1 inch of sea salt, and you put the chestnuts in there with the incision, and you can cook them that way. You can roast them as well in a regular roaster or in an oven as well. It's not as good as in the open fire because the fire gives them some more. It's like for the pizza, right?
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
gives a better taste, but you can cook them in the oven as well.
Excellent.
There are many ways to skin the chestnuts.
We used to
And-
sell the Italian chestnuts in the little burlap bags when we were in Charlotte. We would buy them off of the farmers market or terminal market in Columbia, South Carolina. I don't know if Edwin remembers that. Just a
I
very
do
short
vaguely,
season.
yeah.
That's
right.
so
When they would
smart.
have them.
That's so smart. I came up with that idea as well for us in 2016, burlaps. We have 4 pounds, 3 pounds, 2 pounds, 1 pound. We have
Okay.
special equipment now to fill the 1 pounders, because to fill 1 pound of chestnuts with the 40 cents cost on the bag itself, and to fill them, we don't want to raise the cost too much. So to keep it efficient, we have some auto weighing machines that go quite fast.
Right.
But that's the ute itself, the burlaps ute. It's a natural environment for the chestnuts, because they use the ute, for instance, when they brought the lemons in to the United States. In 1908, if you go in the Library of the Congress, you will see that Italy exported 60,000 tons of lemons to the United States. 60,000 tons in a year, which is 3,000, which is quantities that even today we couldn't do, because even with modern logistics and all the reefer technology we have, it wouldn't be possible to do so much lemons. And they did 60,000 tons. And on top of the lemons, when they had these big baskets, about 100 pounds each, they put ute with salt water to keep them cold. Ute is perfect because when it's too dry, it gives humidity back to the chestnuts, which are very porous. And when it's too wet, they take the humidity out from the chestnuts. In addition to, when you have a ute bag, you can just scramble it a little bit, and that's the kind of when they get some surface mold and the point of sales. If you scramble the ute bag a little bit, you do this a little bit with the hands in the back in between. It's self-cleaning mechanism, we call it. So shiny shoes. Then again,
That's the burlap bag. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
the
fantastic.
burlap bag is perfect for the chestnuts. And that you did it, I'll give you all the credit, because it's the way to sell chestnuts in the burlap, not only for the 55-pound burlap that we go do from Italy, or the 25-pound, but as well for the consumer. It's the best bag.
Very good.
we need to have him back, because I need to have I have a recipe for panzerotti, and I need
Panzerotti,
it.
wow.
I have it sort of translated, but I need to have it done properly.
You need recipes for panzerotti?
Oh, I have one, but
Have one? I want to translate the problem. I can translate for you. That's not a problem.
thank you.
Yeah, we do have to have him back because he's got some other unique. They mentioned the lemons. We're not going to talk about them today because I
The
know
Sorrento lemons,
the
yeah.
Sorrento lemons out of Italy are fantastic. There's no lemon like them anywhere. And of course, they make one of the best drinks you can drink, limoncello. So we'll have
Yes.
to talk about that.
Yes.
And the blood oranges, they have some other citrus that they sell. That is just
Don't call them blood oranges, though.
Oh, right.
They are
Sorry.
Sicilian Tarocco oranges.
Okay.
Don't mix them with the blood oranges, because
Right.
that's not the same thing. The Sicilian Tarocco orange is the orange in the world with the highest vitamin C content of any other oranges in the world.
Wow.
And it's a
Fantastic.
half blood. It's not a full blood like the other blood oranges.
Okay. All right. My apologies for that. We'll get it right. But will you come back another time and
Yes.
have more time?
Yes.
It's great.
No,
Well,
thank
well,
you.
great.
Pleasure talking with you guys.
Yeah, but can
I
but-
didn't expect such this. I got from you there's a lot of expertise, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. But I'm impressed, guys.
Yeah.
You are a great team. Oh my
You
God.
didn't
thank you.
expect to be interrogated?
I didn't feel this an interrogation. No, I felt this like a good discussion and the possibility to give me my opinion and what I know about these Italian products. I really appreciate.
we
Well,
love
thank
your
you.
passion for it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of more minutes to talk about some personal
Yes.
things I discovered about you or you sent
Yes.
to me?
Please go ahead.
Uh-oh.
First of all, this man served in the Swiss Army for 30 years and rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel. That's one of the most elite forces in the world. Tell us a little
You
bit
wear
about that.
Panerai?
I went through all the ranks, right? When you do a military career in Switzerland, that's a militia army. You need to go through the whole thing, right?
Right.
As a soldier, when I was a soldier, no, actually, when I was a recruit, that's when they recruit you, right? You have this Recruitenschule, they call it in Switzerland. And they're really, I hated it. I didn't want to make any career. Then I spoke with my brother. He said, he was captain at the point in time. Said, yeah, you should really take this as a school for life. And that's what I did. I became corporal, then lieutenant. And then the more I got into it, the more I liked it, and then I did general staff schools and other schools. At the end, I couldn't become a commander because it was it's a militia army. You go three weeks a year. It was too intensive. If you would have become a commander, instead of 3 weeks, it would have been 5-6 weeks a year. I couldn't do this because my business was fresh produce.
Right.
But I become an intelligence officer, and I was practically, my job was to say, how is a Russian? No, we didn't call it Russian. We called it, how does a Red Brigade, tank brigade, attack through the Alps? And it was so simple. They come all in one line through the Alps, and we assault them from the sides. We shoot them all the ammunition we had, and then we disappear again.
Wow.
One more very interesting personal thing, if we have the time. Celso's daughter is an Olympic figure skater. And she has competed in
Wow.
Olympics.
That's too personal.
Is that too personal? Well,
No, no,
I can
wonderful.
edit
I'm
it
a
out
proud,
if you
I'm a
don't.
proud dad. If you say it, I'm happy. It makes me happy.
She is an Olympian now, competing still, or
Yes,
she
she's still
was an
competing.
Olympian?
She's still competing. She competed actually until she was 2016 for the United States. She did some junior competition around the world for the United States. But then this opportunity came up. She has a Swiss passport as well, and she has an American passport, and she has a Dutch passport. So she decided she wanted to compete internationally, was her passion. And she got the opportunity to compete for Switzerland. In Switzerland, she's the four or five times, I don't remember, 4 or 5 times national champion now. And she got to go twice to the Olympics. In 2018, she was 16 years old, and she competed in Pyeongchang. And 2022, she competed in Beijing. Beijing wasn't a good experience. Pyeongchang was a good experience, was her first experience. In Beijing, it didn't go well. It was too much politics and too much doping from the Russian side. There's been a bad event.
And
But
then
she
the
got good press.
COVID requirements were really.
Yeah, the COVID requirements, the bubble, but as well the anti-doping. Instead of punishing the girls that doped, they were punishing as well the countries that weren't so liked at the Olympics, right? And Switzerland was one of them because the ISU, the federation, is in Switzerland, and the tribunal that made the decisions to punish the Russians was in Switzerland as well. So the Swiss athletes came a little bit under the wheels.
Mhm.
His daughter's name is Alexia, if you want to go.
Alexia, yeah.
She's got,
Oh, yes.
So you should look that up. Celso, thank you so much. This has been fascinating. We want to have you back, so I'll reach out and we'll try to find a time that's convenient for you and maybe seasonal.
Domani.
Domani. Yeah, let's see. The
Wow.
next time maybe I can show some chestnuts, but I need to get them. We have very nice and big chestnuts that are coming in.
Okay.
The
great.
first variety is huge.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck
Ciao, ciao.
with
Thank you.
everything.
You the
Hope to
same.
see you soon.
Grazie. Arrivederci.
Grazie.
Buona giornata. Buona
Arrivederci.
serata. Grazie.
Ciao.
Grande
Thank
abbraccio. Grande
Ciao.
abbraccio.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Oh, he was great.
Oh my gosh, she was fascinating.
Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Produce Buzzers podcast, brought to you by Produce Buzz, the gathering place for lovers of fresh fruits and veggies. We hope you were entertained a bit and educated a lot about fresh produce. Be sure to join us next time, and please tell your friends to do so as well. Like, share, and comment on our Produce Buzz Facebook page. And check out our website at www.producebuzz.com. There you will find articles about fresh fruits and veggies, how to select, store, and prepare them, as well as lots of interesting facts about all the wonderful bounty the earth provides for us. Until next time, be fruitful and don't forget to veg out.